I still remember the way she looked at me when she was 10. Eyes red from crying, fists clenched and whispering, "I'm glad you're still here." That was Kay, my daughter. My reason for holding it together after her mother disappeared across the Atlantic with nothing but a duffel bag and a boyfriend named Tom. I was 33 back then, running our small family export business, just trying to balance customs forms and kindergarten nightmares. I burned toast more mornings than I didn't, but we survived, and I swore she'd never feel abandoned again. 5 years later, I met Jenna. She didn't just marry me. She showed up for both of us. When Kay hit her rebellious streak, it was Jenna scrubbing the vomit from the hallway rug after Kay came home high. Jenna sitting through every school suspension, every teary therapy session. And still, we never called Kay broken. Just lost. So when Kay got engaged at 27, I didn't hesitate. I offered the full package, $50,000 for her dream wedding. "Whatever you need, sweetheart," I told her. "You deserve this." And I meant it, until the RSVP list came back, and I saw that we weren't on it. No seat for me, no seat for Jenna, not even in the back row. At first, I thought it was a mistake, a glitch in the spreadsheet, a forgotten tab. Then the second blow landed. Kay had asked Tom to walk her down the aisle, the same Tom who ghosted us like a magician in a storm, who left a 5-year-old girl sobbing at a ferry terminal while he boarded a flight to Paris. That guy? Suddenly a hero worth center stage? It was like watching my life play in reverse. All the years of bedtime stories, emergency room visits, sleepless nights, I was being rewritten out of my own daughter's history. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst was what she told everyone else. That I'd been emotionally abusive. That Jenna was manipulative. That we'd controlled her for years. And just like that, the girl who once clung to me in the middle of the night turned me into a monster in her fairy tale. She wanted the money, not the man behind it. She got neither. I didn't yell. I didn't call. I didn't even ask why. When I found out we were erased from the guest list and replaced with the ghost of abandonment himself, I sat at the kitchen table and stared at my coffee until it was cold. Jenna didn't say anything either. She'd seen the list, too. She just walked over, placed her hand on my shoulder, and whispered, "We don't have to pay for this." That was all she said. But I knew what she meant, so I called the planner, the caterer, the florist, the venue, every vendor I'd booked, every deposit I'd made. I canceled it all. Quietly, efficiently, no explanations, just firm, polite words and a tone that said I wasn't bluffing. And the funny thing, no one questioned me, because my name was on every contract. Even the venue, some upscale countryside estate with chandeliers in the stables, just said, "Understood, sir," and forwarded the refund policy. I didn't leave a trace. No text to Kay. No warning. She'd crafted a story where I didn't exist, where Jenna and I were villains offstage. Fine. Let her see what it's like when the villain actually steps away. Wedding day came fast. I spent the morning washing my car. Jenna made French toast like it was any other Sunday. And around 1 p.m., chaos erupted. The doorbell rang. Then came the pounding. Then screaming. Through the security camera feed on my phone, I saw her, my daughter, in a once white, now mud-streaked wedding dress, mascara running down her cheeks, barefoot, shrieking at the lens like it could undo everything. The venue was closed. The food never came. Guests were left standing in a gravel parking lot with nowhere to go. Tom never even showed up. And Kay, my daughter, my blood, was throwing rocks at my house. Rocks. One hit the camera. Another hit the siding. A third shattered the lantern by the walkway Jenna picked out on our anniversary. I didn't open the door. I didn't go outside. I just watched the little girl I once carried through thunderstorms dissolve into something I couldn't recognize. Grief isn't always loud. That day, mine was silent, heavy. But make no mistake, it was real. She was gone by nightfall. Not a knock. Not a call. Just a trail of broken glass and wilted hydrangeas leading back to the street. The front camera was toast, and the motion light never blinked once after 8:30 p.m. That's when I knew she'd given up, at least for the night. Jenna sat across from me, hands folded, eyes rimmed red but dry. We didn't speak much. Just listened to the silence stretch out like a bandage being slowly peeled off a wound that hadn't finished bleeding. I tried, she finally whispered. I really tried with her. I knew she had. God, had she. Jenna wasn't some stepmother caricature from a bad drama. She was the one who held Kay's hair during panic attacks, who bought every book on adolescent trauma and self-harm and codependency when Kay spiraled at 16. Jenna had been more mother than her actual mother ever bothered to be. She doesn't hate you, I said. I meant it. Kay didn't hate Jenna. She hated the mirror. And Jenna was the only person who ever held one up to her face. The fallout came fast. Calls from relatives who'd flown in from other states. Messages from friends who'd shown up only to find locked gates and unanswered phones. Kay, of course, had a version of events prepared. How I had sabotaged her big day out of spite. How Jenna had turned me against her. How Tom had gotten cold feet because we'd scared him off. It would have been laughable if it weren't so pathetic. But I kept quiet. Let the rumors swirl. Let her spin her narrative. The truth has a way of settling in when the dust does. And it did. Slowly. Ben called me 3 weeks later. His voice was flat, tired. Hey, I just wanted you to know. I had no idea what she was saying about you and Jenna. I believed her. I shouldn't have. I didn't say anything. She told people you used to scream at her. Said Jenna threw out her medication once. He hesitated. But none of it's been true. I let that sit there. He sighed. She's not who I thought she was. I think I'm in trouble, man. And just like that, the dam cracked. Kay's lies weren't just about us. They were about control. Control over people, stories, sympathy. Over reality itself. But the most painful part? I realized Ben wasn't her first casualty. He was just the latest. And there were more to come. Ben moved out 5 days after that call. I didn't ask where he went. I didn't press. Some wounds don't need probing, they need air. But I did ask one thing. Was there ever a moment she scared you? His silence was all the answer I needed. Eventually, he nodded. Yeah, a few, actually. He told me about the time she locked him out of their apartment after a mild disagreement about paint colors. About the time she threatened to tell the police he hit her, just because he didn't want to go to a dinner with her friends. He told me how she'd sob, scream, then collapse into his arms an hour later whispering, "Don't leave me. I'm nothing without you." Classic push-pull. Love bombing, withdrawal, guilt. I'd seen it before. Only difference now was she wasn't 10. She wasn't 15. She wasn't some vulnerable child reacting to trauma. She was a woman, an adult, and this was a pattern. She'd used sympathy like a currency, and everyone she dated? Just another ATM to cash it in. After the split, Ben tried to co-parent the dog they adopted. That lasted 2 weeks. She began sending threats, showing up uninvited, leaving notes under his windshield wipers about how Jenna poisoned her relationships, how she saw through Jenna's fake compassion, how Jenna ruined everything, including her wedding. One message ended with, "Tell her I'm not scared to make her disappear." He sent me a photo of the note. That's when I knew we weren't dealing with heartbreak. We were dealing with unraveling. I called Jenna's therapist the next day. The same one who had once worked with Kay in family sessions back when we thought therapy could fix it. "I can't speak about her directly," the therapist said carefully. "But if you're concerned for your wife's safety, you need to start documenting everything." I hung up and went straight to Home Depot. Security cameras, alarm sensors, pepper spray. Not because I thought Kay would really hurt Jenna, but because I couldn't afford to be wrong. And somewhere, buried under the exhaustion and the ache, I realized something horrible. I had spent nearly 3 decades trying to save my daughter, but I had no idea who I was trying to save her from anymore. You never think you'll be the one installing motion sensors because of your own child. But there I was, Saturday morning, drilling into door frames while Jenna silently swept up the mess of a flower pot Kay had smashed on our porch the night before. A peace offering, Kay had called it in a voicemail. "You like lilacs, right?" she slurred. I brought you lilacs. You didn't answer, so I left them. Why don't you answer? Then came the sound of ceramic shattering. I didn't even bother calling the cops. What would I tell them? Hi, yes. My daughter is emotionally imploding on our front lawn again. Instead, I hit record, saved the footage, filed it in a folder I never thought I'd need. For safety. Jenna was quieter than usual that morning. Not cold, just elsewhere. The kind of quiet you only hear in people who are tired all the way to their bones. You know she means it, right? She said softly. Means what? When she says she wants me gone. I stopped drilling. She hates me because I saw her. I didn't baby her. I didn't let her manipulate me. I treated her like a person. Not some porcelain doll wrapped in tragedy. It hurt to hear. Not because it wasn't true. Because it was. And I'd let Jenna carry that alone for too long. Kay always knew which buttons to press. When she was a teenager, it was threats of running away. Then it became threats of relapse. Then later, the ultimate dagger. You're not even my real mom. But Jenna never flinched. Never raised her voice. Just stood her ground. Until now. She won't stop, Jenna said. Not until she breaks something. Or someone. I nodded. And that night, for the first time in all these years, I double-locked our bedroom door. Not because I was scared of Kay breaking in, but because I didn't trust myself to keep believing she could change. And that was the moment I realized I wasn't just protecting Jenna. I was surviving my own daughter. You ever look into someone's eyes and realize you don't recognize them? It's a strange kind of grief, the slow, disorienting kind. The kind that doesn't come from death, but from watching someone you love vanish while still standing right in front of you. That was me, sitting across from Kay at a diner 2 weeks after the incident with the broken flower pot. She'd texted me out of the blue. Can we talk? Just you and me. I miss you. Against my better judgment, I said yes. Jenna didn't say anything when I told her. Just nodded and handed me a small digital recorder we used during staff meetings. Keep it in your jacket, she said. Just in case. Kay showed up late. Same dramatic entrance as always. Wind in her hair, eyes a little too wide, arms crossed like a shield. But the second she sat down, she morphed. Soft voice, tilted head, the wounded girl routine. Dad, she started. I just want to understand why you hate me now. I blinked. Hate you? She sniffed, and I realized she'd dabbed her eyes before walking in to look freshly weepy. You're pushing me away. You and Jenna. I stared at her. You threw rocks at our house. I was upset. You called Jenna a parasite in a voicemail. She is. You said you'd kill her. She flinched. I was drunk. So was your logic, apparently. And then her voice dropped. That performative sadness evaporated like morning fog. What replaced it was sharp, as cold. She ruined everything. You were mine until she came along. There it was. The truth, bare and venomous. This wasn't about weddings, or therapy, or Jenna. This was about ownership. A delusion where love meant control. Where my devotion was something to be weaponized the moment I gave it to anyone else. You're not 5 anymore, Kay, I said. You don't get to set fire to people's lives and call it a cry for help. She leaned in, eyes locked on mine, and whispered, You'll regret choosing her over me. Then she stood, walked out. No bill, no goodbye. I sat there a long time. The waitress finally came over, and when she asked if I wanted anything else, I just said, No, I think I'm full. But the truth? I'd never felt emptier. I spent the next few nights doing something I hadn't done in years. I watched old home videos. Back when Kay was still missing her 2 front teeth and carried a stuffed fox named Milo everywhere we went. Back when we'd dance in the living room to Fleetwood Mac, her feet on top of mine, laughing like the world was just something to explore, not escape from. She used to call me her hero. She said it like it was the most obvious truth in the world. Not because I was perfect, but because I stayed. And that used to be enough. But now, every time her little voice came through those grainy clips, Look, Daddy, I did it, my stomach would twist. Not from nostalgia, from guilt, because I wasn't sure if I'd raised her or enabled her. It's a brutal thing to admit, that maybe love, when given without boundaries, can rot into something unrecognizable. That maybe, all those times I tried to protect her from pain, I was just making sure no one ever told her no. Jenna found me in the den. The TV paused on a still frame of Kay at 12, hugging me at a school recital. "You okay?" she asked. I didn't look at her. I used to think she was just broken. And now, I think she likes breaking things. Jenna didn't respond right away. She sat beside me, her hand brushing mine. "You know," she said, "you don't have to keep proving you're a good father." I laughed, bitter and quiet. "Then what am I?" She looked at me. "You're a man who loved his daughter more than anything, and now you're trying to survive her." That stuck with me, because I realized something I hadn't wanted to admit. This wasn't just about saving Kay anymore. This was about saving ourselves. And if it came down to that, I was finally ready to choose peace over penance. Ben called again, not to talk, just to breathe into the receiver like someone trying to stay steady on a cliff's edge. I waited, let the silence stretch. "She showed up at my apartment last night," he finally said. I didn't respond, just gripped the phone harder. She was barefoot, screaming about how I destroyed her life. Said she was going to call the police and tell them I hit her unless I gave her the dog back. I closed my eyes, not because I was surprised, because I wasn't. "Did you let her in?" I asked. "No," he whispered, "but I almost did." There it was, the trap, Kay's specialty, that twisted talent for knowing exactly which guilt string to pull. The way she made you doubt yourself, even while she was setting fire to your life. "I'm scared she's gonna hurt herself," he said. I sighed. "You're not responsible for saving her." "I know," he replied, "but I still feel like I am." Welcome to the club, I thought. After we hung up, I stared out the window for a long time. The lawn needed mowing. One of the rose bushes was leaning, half wilted. Life was still moving, still ticking forward. But inside, everything felt like it had stopped, like we were all frozen in the middle of a story we couldn't rewrite. That afternoon, I checked our front camera again. She'd been back. Only this time, she didn't throw anything, didn't scream. She just stood there, arms folded, staring straight into the lens like she knew I was watching. She stayed for 9 full minutes, didn't blink, didn't budge, and then she smiled. That smile chilled me more than the rocks ever did, because it wasn't angry, it was confident, like she was playing the long game, and she still thought she'd win. There was a time I believed in the fix, in therapy, in medication, in late-night talks and the kind of tough love that wrapped itself in patience. But somewhere along the line, I confused helping with saving, and Kay knew it. She wore that knowledge like armor. Every apology she gave came with an unspoken clause. "Now that I've said sorry, you owe me your loyalty again." So when she texted me one night, "I think I need help, real help. Can I come over?" I hesitated. Jenna sat across the room, watching me read it. "You know what this is," she said gently. I nodded, but I still wanted to believe. So I told Kay she could come by. 1 hour. Jenna wouldn't be home, just her and me. She arrived wearing that same tired innocence. Pale sweatshirt, oversized sunglasses, speaking softly like she just crawled out of a bad dream. "Dad," she said, sitting on the edge of the couch, "I've been thinking about everything, and I know I've made mistakes." The words were polished, practiced. I don't know why I get so angry. I don't want to be this person anymore." I listened. I nodded. I let her talk. But then came the part one was waiting for. "I'm in a rough place financially," she said, looking down at her hands. "Ben took everything. I'm just asking for a little help getting back on my feet, just until I can see a therapist." There it was, the price tag of her redemption. "How much?" I asked. She blinked. "What? You said, a little. How much is a little?" Her lip twitched. The mask cracked. "You don't believe me," she said, voice getting colder. I shrugged. "I believe you want to believe yourself." She stood, fast. Her eyes narrowed. "You don't want me to get better. You just want to punish me. No, I said quietly. I want peace. You keep showing me you can't give that. She was at the door before I finished the sentence. But not before turning and hissing, I hope Jenna chokes on your loyalty. And just like that, she was gone again. This time, I didn't watch her through the cameras. This time, I turned them off. Because I finally understood. You can't help someone who treats healing like a negotiation. I found myself staring at Kay's old room one evening. The door was closed, untouched. Inside, I knew it was all still there. Photo frames, forgotten journals, the pink beanbag chair she used to curl into after school, headphones on, zoning out the world. I hadn't been in that room in over a year. Jenna found me in the hallway, hand resting on the knob. You don't have to go in there, she said. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to grieve someone who's still breathing, I replied. She didn't say anything, just stood beside me while I opened the door. The smell hit me first. That soft, stale sweetness of long-discarded perfumes and memory. The walls were still covered in posters from her teenage years. Bands she'd outgrown, dreams she abandoned. On the desk was a note she wrote at 15. I kept it framed for a long time. Thanks for not giving up on me. I'll be better, I promise. Love, Kay. I used to read that whenever things got hard. Used it like a compass. Now it just felt like another lie we both believed. I sat on the bed and felt the weight of it all. Not just her betrayal, but the exhaustion of trying. For years, I twisted myself into knots to reach her, to pull her back, to remind her of who she was. But what if that person never really existed? What if I wasn't grieving who she became, but finally letting go of who I thought she was? I turned to Jenna, standing in the doorway. She used to love this room. Jenna gave a faint smile. She used to love a lot of things. And then quieter, so did you. That was when it hit me. The truth I'd been ducking. I didn't just lose my daughter. I lost the version of myself that believed I could fix everything with enough love. And the man who walked out of that room that night wasn't the same man who walked in. She showed up again. Not with screams or smashed pots this time, but with a letter. Left in the mailbox like it was something sacred. The envelope was thick, cream-colored, her handwriting neat. Careful. It said, for Dad. Please read. I didn't. Not right away. I left it sitting on the hallway table for 2 full days. Walked past it like a ghost of a possibility I couldn't bring myself to confront. Jenna never mentioned it. But I caught her glancing at it once, then at me with that quiet question in her eyes. Do you really think this time is different? I didn't. But I still opened it. The letter was 4 pages long. Handwritten. No theatrics. No threats. And that's what made it dangerous. She said she was in therapy now. That she'd been diagnosed. That everything, the wedding Ben, the lies, was a storm she didn't know how to control. She didn't ask for money. Didn't even ask to meet. All she said was, I just want you to know I'm trying. And I miss you. And for a second, just a flicker of a second, I felt something warm flicker in my chest. Like an ember trying to convince itself it could still be a flame. That night, I read the letter again. Then a 3rd time. But something didn't sit right. So I did what any parent both hopeful and hurt would do. I called the clinic she claimed she was attending. Spoke to the front desk. Asked if they could confirm a patient by that name was receiving treatment. They couldn't. Not even off the record. Which usually means they're not there. I hung up without leaving my name. And suddenly, the letter didn't feel like peace. It felt like bait. The next morning, I burned it. Not out of anger. Not out of spite. But because I finally understood. There's a difference between letting someone back in and leaving the door unlocked for your own destruction. After the letter, things went quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Kay didn't text. Didn't call. Didn't show up unannounced. And for a while, I thought maybe we'd reached some uneasy stalemate. A mutual ceasefire built on exhaustion more than understanding. But silence from someone like her? It's never free. I found out from Ben. Again. He called one evening, voice shaky. Hey. I think you need to know she's been showing up at Jenna's work. My stomach dropped. At the clinic? Yeah. At first it was just her sitting in the parking lot. But last week she went inside. Asked the receptionist if Jenna was in. Said she had an appointment. Then yesterday she cornered one of the nurses. Said Jenna was stealing her family. I stood in the middle of our living room, blinds open, the front lawn dim in the evening light. Jenna was upstairs folding laundry. Humming to herself. She told the nurse she knew where you guys lived, Ben continued. And that Jenna better sleep with one eye open. That was it. Not rage. Not panic. Just a quiet switch flipping in my chest. That cold clarity again, the one I'd felt the day I canceled her wedding without saying a word. This wasn't acting out anymore. This was escalation. That night, I filed for a restraining order. It felt surreal writing my daughter's name on legal paperwork under the label threat. But what else could I do? Love doesn't mean surrender. Not when the person you love has become a danger to the one person who's never stopped trying to hold your family together. When Jenna saw the documents on the kitchen table, she didn't say anything. Just walked over, placed a gentle hand on my back, and whispered, "I'm sorry." And that broke me more than Kay's threats ever could. Because Jenna didn't deserve this war. But she'd been in it the whole time, just fighting with an open heart while I kept hoping love would be enough armor. It wasn't. The hearing was quiet. No theatrics. Just papers, formal language, a few nods from the judge. Kay didn't show. She didn't have to. The damage was already done. Not just to Jenna. To all of us. The restraining order was approved. Standard distance. No contact. And just like that, my own daughter became someone I had to stay protected from. When we got back home, Jenna poured us each a glass of wine. Not celebration. Just ritual. Something to mark the moment without giving it more ceremony than it deserved. "This isn't what you pictured, is it?" she asked softly. I shook my head. Not even close. She sipped her wine. "Do you hate her?" I didn't answer right away. "No," I said. "But I don't trust her. And I don't think I ever will again." That's the part they don't tell you about betrayal. It doesn't just steal your peace. It rewrites your instincts. Makes you question every memory, every gesture, every "I love you." But that night, lying in bed with Jenna's hand resting lightly on my chest, I felt something I hadn't in years. Stillness. Not because the storm had passed, but because I'd finally stepped out of it. I used to think being a good father meant holding the line, no matter how much it cost. But now I think maybe love isn't always about holding on. Sometimes real love, the kind that lasts, is knowing when to let go. Even if it breaks you. Even if it haunts you. Because some people don't need more chances. They need distance. 3 months passed. No calls. No letters. No accidental visits. Just absence. The kind that hums in the background of your day like a ceiling fan you used to notice but now forget is there. Jenna started smiling again. Not often. But when she did, it was real. Unforced. Like some part of her had stopped bracing for the next hit. One afternoon, I caught her humming while planting tulips along the back fence. She used to garden when Kay was younger, before things turned volatile. Before she became the target of every misplaced emotion my daughter couldn't carry. I stood there watching her, trowel in hand, dirt on her cheek, and I realized something simple but devastating. This quiet, this breath of calm should have come years ago. But it didn't. Because I kept Kay front and center. Even when she didn't deserve the spotlight. And it wasn't just Jenna who paid for that. I did too. I let guilt dress itself up as duty. Let fear of failing my daughter turn into a slow, invisible abandonment of my wife. That night, I sat Jenna down. "I'm sorry," I said. Not just for what Kay did. For what I let happen. She didn't say anything. Just took my hand. Held it. Like she always did. "She may have been my blood," I added, "but you were the one who stayed. You were the one who carried the weight I refused to see." A tear slid down her cheek. Not because it hurt, but because it was finally acknowledged. Forgiveness is strange. It doesn't erase anything. But it softens the shape of the memory. And in that moment, I felt the weight shift. Slightly. Finally. The next morning, I wrote Kay a letter. Not to send. Just to write. It said, "I will always love the version of you that needed me. But I can't keep bleeding for the version that doesn't." Then I folded it. Put it in the same box where I kept her childhood drawings. Her first report card. The photo of us at the zoo with cotton candy in her hand and a stuffed lion on her shoulders. I kept the box. But I locked the door. And for the first time in nearly 3 decades, I let myself breathe. I used to think being a father meant never giving up. That love, real love, meant standing in the fire no matter how long it burned. But here's the truth they never put in the parenting books. Sometimes love isn't what saves you. Sometimes love is what destroys you when you refuse to let go of someone who's already let go of themselves. I spent 27 years trying to hold on to Kay. Through tantrums, through rehab visits, through every tear-stained apology that turned into another accusation. I kept thinking, one more chance. One more try. One more reminder that she's still my little girl. But she wasn't. Not anymore. She had become something else. A storm that moved through people instead of past them. A master of rewiring truth until no one remembered how the hurt started in the first place. Even her. I kept that box of memories on the top shelf in my closet. I haven't opened it since I sealed it shut with that final letter. But I don't throw it away either. Because grief doesn't always come in the shape of death. Sometimes it comes in the form of absence. And you learn to live with it the way you learn to live with a limp after the bone heals wrong, quietly, permanently, and without apology. These days, Jenna and I take long walks after dinner. We planted a second garden. We sleep through the night. And not once in the last 2 months have I flinched at the sound of the doorbell. Kay is out there, somewhere. And I hope she finds her way truly. But I've stopped believing it's my job to guide her anymore. Because love doesn't mean surrender. It means boundaries. And sometimes the most painful, most honest act of love is the one that looks like walking away. Not because you don't care, but because you finally do. Enough to stop letting it kill you.